अशतरशत Śrīmad-Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Śrīla Gurudev ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashata Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashata Śrīmad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashata Śrīmad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupāda ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Maha-Bhagavat Śrīla Gokṣaras Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanuga Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Dashraghunath Sharda Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. नाम चाहे श्लाहिरस ठाकुर की जाय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रजमंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जाय श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जाय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जाय Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha Yang Prabrajantam Anupetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayano Virahaka Tara Ajuhava Putreti tanmayataya taravo bhinedu stang sarva bhuta hridayam munimanatosmi Narayanam namaskritya narang chaiva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet Shrinvatang svakatha Krishna punya shravana kirtana Hridantasto hyabadrani vidhunoti suhritsatam Nashta praeshvabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki Tavai vasmi na jivami tvaya vina Eti vigyaya radhe tvang nayamang charanantikam Bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay Kshiptashtakama ditarangamade Kripa maitam sharanam prapanna Vrinde namaste charanaravindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Dandavat pranams Rohit Radha Krishnan ji, Raseshwari Mataji, Sudevi Didi, Yashji, Madhavi Didi, Raj Bhuvan Yadav, Harivo, Rup Manjari Didi, Ganga Didi, Dandavat Pranams, everybody. And also Indira Mataji, who will be watching later. Where am I? Oh, by the way, I updated this page, if anybody. I put all the videos underneath each verse and did some other things. All right, so where am I going? There. Additional notes for this chapter. So yesterday we finished the first chapter, and now Śrīla Prabhupāda, at the end of this chapter, here are some additional notes from Śrīla Prabhupāda. Regarding transmigration of the soul, Śrīla Madhvacharya gives the following notes. When one is awake, whatever one sees or hears is impressed upon the mind, which later works in dreams to show one different experiences, although in dreams, one appears to accept a different body. For example, when one is awake, one does business and talks with customers. And similarly, in dreams, one meets with various customers, talks about business, and gives quotations. Madhvacharya says, therefore, that dreams take place according to what one sees, hears, and remembers. When one reawakens, of course, one forgets the body of the dream. This forgetfulness is called apasmriti. Thus, we are changing bodies because we are sometimes dreaming, sometimes awake, and sometimes forgetful. Forgetfulness of our previously created body is called death, and our work in the present body is called life. After death, one cannot remember the activities of one's previous body, whether imaginary or factual. The agitated mind is compared to agitated water reflecting the sun and the moon. Actually, the sun and moon reflected on the water do not exist there. Nonetheless, they are reflected according to the movements of the water. Similarly, when our minds are agitated, we wander in different material atmospheres and receive different types of bodies. This is described in Bhagavad Gita as guna sangha. Karana guna sangosya. Madhvacharya says, gunu baddha san. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, pramand brahmite kona bhagyavan jeev. We're going to be going over that verse next week. It's Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 151. The living entity rotates up and down throughout the universe, sometimes in the upper planetary system, sometimes in the middle and lower planetary systems, sometimes as a man, sometimes a god, a dog, a tree, and so on. This is all due to the agitation of the mind. The mind must therefore be steadily fixed, as it is said, Savaya Manah Krishna Padara Vindayo. One should fix one's mind at the lotus feet of Krishna, and then one will become free from agitation. This is the instruction of the Garuda Purana and the Naradiya Purana. And in the Naradiya Purana, the same process is described. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Yanti Deva Vrata Devan. The agitated mind goes to different planetary systems because it is attached to different kinds of demigods. But one does not go to the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by worshipping the demigods, for this is not supported in any Vedic literature. Man is the architect of his own fortune. In this human life, one has the facility with which to understand one's real situation, and one can decide whether to wander around the universe forever or return home back to Godhead. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Aprapya mam nivartante mrityu sangsara vartamani. There is no such thing as chance. When a tree is burning in a forest fire, and although the nearest tree is spared, a distant tree catches fire. It appear to be chance. Similarly, one may seem to get different types of bodies by chance, but actually one receives these bodies because of the mind. The mind flickers between accepting and rejecting, and according to the acceptance and rejection of the mind, we receive different types of bodies, although we superficially seem to obtain these bodies by chance. Even if we accept the theory of chance, the immediate cause for the change of body is the agitation of the mind. Notes Anksha. This chapter describes that Krishna appeared Ankshena, with his parts and parcels, or his partial manifestation. In this connection, Sridhar Swami says that Krishna is 100% Bhagavan, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Because of our imperfections, however, we cannot appreciate Krishna in fullness, and therefore whatever Krishna exhibited when present on earth was but a partial manifestation of his opulence. Again, Krishna appeared with his plenary expansion Baladev. Krishna, however, is full. There is no question of his appearing partially. Vaishnav Toshani, Śrīla Sanatana Goswami says that to accept that Krishna was partially manifested would contradict the statements Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Śrīla Jiva Goswami says that the word Aṅśena means that Krishna appeared with all his plenary expansions. The words Aṅśena Vishnu do not mean that Krishna is a partial representative of Vishnu. Rather, Krishna appeared in fullness, and he manifests himself partially in the Vaikuntha Lokas. In other words, Lord Vishnu is a partial representation of Krishna. Krishna is not a partial representation of Vishnu. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila chapter 4, this subject matter is explained very clearly. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also notes that no one can describe Krishna in fullness. Whatever descriptions we find in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam are partial explanations of Krishna. In conclusion, therefore, the word Aṅśena indicates that Lord Vishnu is a partial representation of Krishna, not that Krishna is a partial representation of Vishnu. Śrīla Sanatana Goswami's Vaishnav Toshani has explained the word Dharmashilasya. The exact meaning of Dharmashil is an unadulterated devotee. Real dharma consists of full surrender to Krishna. Sarva dharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam braja. It's Bhagavad Gita 1866. One who is fully surrendered to Krishna is actually religious. One such religious person was Maharaj Parikshit. Anyone who accepts the principle of surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord, giving up all other systems of religion, is actually dharmashil, perfectly religious. The word nivritta tarshai refers to one who no longer has any material desires. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam. One may have many material desires because of contamination in this material world, but when one is completely free from all material desires, he is called nivritta trishna, which indicates that he no longer has any thirst for material enjoyment. Swamin kritartos mi varam nayache, that's Hari Bhakti Sudadai. Materialistic persons want some material profit from executing devotional service, but this is not the purpose of service. The perfection of devotional service lies in complete surrender unto the lotus feet of Krishna with no material desires. One who surrenders in this way is already liberated. Jivan mukta sa uchyate. One who is always busy serving Krishna in whatever condition he may live is understood to be liberated, even in this life. Such a person who is a pure devotee does not need to change his body. Indeed, he does not possess a material body, for his body has already been spiritualized. An iron rod kept constantly within a fire will ultimately become fire, and whatever it touches will burn. Similarly, the pure devotee is in the fire of spiritual existence, and therefore his body is chinmay. That is, it is spiritual, not material, because the pure devotee has no desire but the transcendental desire to serve the Lord. In text 4, the word upagiyamanat is used. Nivritta tarshar upagiyamanat. Who will chant the glories of the Lord unless he is a devotee? Therefore, the word nivritta tarshai indicates the devotee and no one else. These are the remarks of Vira Raghavacharya and Vijayadhwaja. To desire anything other than devotional service will diminish one's freedom from material desires, but when one is free from all such desires, one is called nivritta tarshai. Vina pashu gnat. The word pashu means animal. An animal killer, Pashugna, cannot enter into Krishna consciousness. In our Krishna consciousness movement, therefore, animal killing is completely prohibited. Uttama shloka gunanuvadat. The word Uttama shloka means one who is famous as the best of those who are good. The Lord is good in all circumstances. That is his natural reputation. His goodness is unlimited, and he uses it unlimitedly. A devotee is also sometimes described as Uttama shloka, meaning that he is eager to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead or the Lord's devotees. Glorifying the Lord and glorifying the Lord's devotees are the same. Or rather, glorifying the devotee is more important than glorifying the Lord directly. Narottam Das Thakur explains this fact. Charya Vaishnava Seva Nistara Payeche Keba. One cannot be liberated from material contamination without sincerely serving a devotee of Krishna. Bhavo Shadat means from the universal remedy. Chanting the holy name and glorifying the Supreme Lord are the universal remedy for all the miseries of materialistic life. Persons who desire to be freed from this material world are called mumukshu. Such persons can understand the miseries of materialistic life, and glorifying the activities of the Lord, they can be released from all these miseries. The transcendental sound vibrations concerning the Lord's name, fame, form, qualities, and paraphernalia are all non-different from the Lord. Therefore, the very sound vibration of the Lord's glorification and name are pleasing to the ears, and by understanding the absolute nature of the Lord's name, form, qualities, and by understanding the absolute nature of the Lord's name, form, and qualities, the devotee becomes joyful. Even those who are not devotees, however, enjoy the pleasing narrations of the Lord's transcendental activities. Even ordinary, not very much advanced in Krishna consciousness, take pleasure in describing the narrations depicted in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. When a materialistic person is purified in this way, he engages in hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. Because glorification of the Lord's pastimes is very pleasing to the ear and heart of the devotee, it is simultaneously his subject and object. In this world, there are three kinds of men: those who are liberated, those trying to be liberated, and those entangled in sense enjoyment. Of these three, those who are already liberated chant in the holy name of the Lord, knowing perfectly that to glorify the Lord is the only way to keep oneself in a transcendental position. Those who are trying to be liberated, the second class, may regard the chanting and hearing of the Lord's holy name as a process of liberation, and they too will feel the transcendental pleasure of this chanting. As for karmis and persons engaged in sense gratification, they also may take pleasure in hearing the pastimes of the Lord, like his fighting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra and his dancing in Vrindavan with the gopis. The word Uttama Shloka Gunanuvada refers to the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Lord, such as his affection for Mother Yashoda and his friends, the cowherd boys, and his loving attitude toward the gopis. The Lord's devotees like Maharaj Yudhishthira are also described by the qualification Uttama Shloka Gunanuvada. The word anuvad refers to describing the qualities of the Supreme Lord or his devotees. When these qualities are described, other devotees are interested in hearing them. The more one is interested in hearing about these transcendental qualities, the more one transcendentally enjoys. Everyone, therefore, including the mumukshus, the vimuktas, and the karmis, should chant and hear the glories of the Lord, and in this way, everyone will benefit. Although the sound vibration of the transcendental qualities of the Lord is equally beneficial to all, for those who are muktas, liberated, it is especially pleasing. As described in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, 8th canto, 3rd chapter, verse 20, because pure devotees who no longer have any material desires surrender fully to the lotus feet of the Lord, they always merge in the ocean of bliss by chanting and hearing the Lord's holy name. According to this verse, devotees like Nārada and other residents of Shvetadvip are seen always engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord, because by such chanting, they are always externally and internally blissful. The mumukshus, persons desiring to be liberated, do not depend on the pleasures of the senses. Instead, they concentrate fully on becoming liberated by chanting the holy name of the Lord. Karmis like to create something pleasing to their ears and hearts, and although they sometimes like to chant or hear the glories of the Lord, they do not do it openly. Devotees, however, always spontaneously hear, chant about, and remember the activities of the Lord, and by this process they are fully satisfied, even though these may seem like topics of sense gratification. Simply by hearing the transcendental narrations of the Lord's activities, Parikshit Maharaj was liberated. He was therefore Shruta Mano Bhirama, that is, he glorified the process of hearing. This process should be accepted by all living entities. To distinguish persons who are bereft of these transcendental pleasures, Parikshit Maharaj has used the words Virajeta Puman. The word Puman refers to any person, whether man, woman, or in between. I like that Śrīla Prabhupāda mentioned in between. Because of the bodily conception of life, we are subject to lamentation. But one who has no such bodily conceptions can take pleasure in transcendental hearing and chanting. Therefore, a person fully absorbed in the bodily concept of life is surely killing himself by not making spiritual progress. Such a person is called Pashugna. Especially excluded from spiritual life are the animal hunters who are not interested in hearing and chanting the holy name of the Lord. Such hunters are always unhappy, both in this life and in the next. It is therefore said that a hunter should neither die nor live, because for such persons, both living and dying are troublesome. Animal hunters are completely different from ordinary karmis, and thus they have been excluded from the process of hearing and chanting. Vina Pashuknat. They cannot enter into the transcendental pleasure of chanting or... Sorry, I have something stuck in my throat. They cannot enter into the transcendental pleasure of chanting in the holy name of the Lord. The word Maharata refers to a great hero who can fight alone against even 11,000 other heroes. And the word Atirata, as found in text 5, refers to one who can fight against an unlimited number. This is mentioned in the Mahabharata as follows. Ekadashasrani yodayed yastu danvinam astra shastra pravinascha maharata eti smrita amitan yodayed yastu samprokto tiratastusa. One second. This is the description given in the Brihad Vaishnav Toshani by Srila Sanatana Goswami. This is all for, let me just, one second. There it is. Okay. So far, all that we read is just Śrīla Prabhupāda's explanation of this text 4. Nivritta tarshar upagiyamanar bhavaushadach chrotra manobhiramat ka uttama shloka guna anuvadat puman virajeta vina pashugnat. Kane ache? Kintu battery শেষ. 8টা হয়ে গেল. So the translation, I'm just so that we know what Śrīla Prabhupada is commenting on. Glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is performed in the parampara system. That is, it is conveyed from spiritual master to disciple. Such glorification is relished by those no longer interested in the false temporary glorification of this cosmic manifestation. Descriptions of the Lord are the right medicine for the conditioned soul undergoing repeated birth and death. Therefore, who will cease hearing such glorification of the Lord except a butcher or one who is killing his own self? So this is, I guess this whole thing is just explanation of this verse. Maya Manushyasya 10:1-17. Oh, not this verse. That's 17 now. Because of being covered by Yoga Maya, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya Yoga Maya Samavrata, Krishna is sometimes called Maya Manusha, indicating that although he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he appears like an ordinary person. A misunderstanding arises because Yoga Maya covers the vision of the general public. Oh yeah, and Śrīla Prabhupada did the Ankshena one. This one, no. Anyways, yeah. Sorry, okay. The Lord's position is actually different from okay. A misunderstanding arises because Yoga Maya covers the vision of the general public. The Lord's position is actually different from that of an ordinary person. For although he appears to act like an ordinary man, he is always transcendental. the word Maya also indicates mercy, and sometimes it also means knowledge. The Lord is always full of all transcendental knowledge, and therefore, although he acts like a human being, he is the supreme personality of Godhead full of knowledge. In his original identity, the Lord is the controller of Maya. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. Therefore, the Lord may be called Maya Manusha, or the supreme personality of Godhead playing like an ordinary human being, although he is the controller of both the material and spiritual energies. The Lord is a supreme person, Purushottama, but because we are deluded by Yogamaya, he appears to be an ordinary person. Ultimately, however, Yogamaya induces even a non-devotee to understand the Lord as the supreme person, Purushottama. In Bhagavad Gita, we find two other statements given by the supreme personality of Godhead. For the devotees, the Lord says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatang priti purvakam dadami bhdiyogam tam yena mam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. That's Bhagavad Gita 10.10. Thus, for the willing devotee, the Lord gives the intelligence by which to understand him and return home back to Godhead. For others, for non-devotees, the Lord says, Mrityu sarva haraschaham. I am all plundering, inevitable death. A devotee like Prahlada enjoys the activities of Lord Nrsingadev. Non-devotees, like Prahlada's father, Hiranyakashipu, meet death before Lord Nrsingadev. Therefore, the Lord, acts in two ways, by sending some onto the path of repeated birth and death, and by sending others back home, back to Godhead. The word Kala, indicating the color of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Lord Krishna and Lord Ramachandra, who both look blackish, give liberation and transcendental bliss to their devotees. Among persons possessing material bodies, sometimes someone is able to give. Among persons possessing material bodies, sometimes someone is able to subject death to his own will. For such a person, death is almost impossible because no one wants to die. But although Bhishmadev possessed this power, Bhishma, by the supreme will of the Lord, died very easily in the Lord's presence. There have also been many demons who had no hope of salvation. Yet Kaṁsa attained salvation by the supreme will of the Lord. Not to speak of Kaṁsa, even Putana attained salvation and reached the level of the Lord's mother. Parikshit Maharaj, therefore, was very eager to hear about the Lord, who has inconceivable qualities by which to give liberation to anyone. Parikshit Maharaj, at the point of his death, was certainly interested in his liberation. When such a great and exalted personality as the Lord behaves like an ordinary human being, although possessing inconceivable qualities, his behavior is called Maya. Therefore, the Lord is described as Maya Manusha. This is the opinion of Śrīla Jiva Goswami. Mu refers to mukti, or salvation, and ku refers to that which is bad or very obnoxious. Thus, Muku refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead who saves one from the bad condition of material existence. The Lord is called Mukunda because he not only saves the devotee from material existence, but offers him transcendental bliss and love and service. As for Keshava, Ka means Brahma, and Isha means Lord Shiva. The personality of Godhead captivates both Lord Brahma and Mahadev, or Shiva, by his transcendental qualities. Therefore, he is called Keshava. This opinion is given by Sanatana Goswami in his Vaishnav Toshani commentary. It is said that all the demigods, accompanied by Trinarayan Lord Shiva, went to the shore of the ocean of milk, and offered their prayers through the mantra known as the Purusha Sukta. From this statement, it is understood that the demigods cannot directly approach Lord Vishnu, who lies on the ocean of milk, or enter his abode. This is also clearly stated in Mahabharat Moksha Dharma, and the next chapter of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has his abode in Goloka, Goloka Namni Nijadhamni Tale Chatasya. From Lord Krishna come the Chaturvyuha, the quadruple expansions Sankarshan, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna, and Vasudeva. There are innumerable Brahmandas, all of which emanate from the pores of Kshirodakshay Vishnu, and in every Brahmanda, there is a Garbhadaksha Vishnu, who is a partial expansion of Aniruddha. This Aniruddha is a partial expansion of Pradyumna, who is partially represented as Kshirodaksha Vishnu, the supersoul of all living entities. These Vishnu expansions are different from Krishna, who resides in Goloka Vrindavan. When it is said that demigods offered prayers to the Lord by chanting the Purusha Sukta, this indicates that they please the Lord by enunciating prayers of bhakti. The word Vrishakapi refers to one who satisfies his devotee in every way and frees his devotee from all material anxieties. Vrisha refers to religious performances like sacrifices. Even without the execution of sacrifices, the Lord can still enjoy the supermost comforts of the heavenly planets. The statement that Purushottam Jagannath would appear in the house of Vasudeva distinguishes the Supreme Personality of Godhead from ordinary persons. The statement that he personally appeared indicates that he did not send his planetary expansion. The word Priyartham indicates that the Lord appeared to please Rukmini and Radharani. Priya means the most beloved. In the commentary of Sri Veera Raghavacharya, the following extra verse accepted after text 23. Rishayopi taradeshat kalpyantam pashurupina payodana mukhenapi vishnuntar paitum sura. O demigods, even great sages, following the order of Vishnu, appeared in the forms of cows and calves to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead by delivering milk. Ramanujacharya, cool. Demigod cows. Ramanujacharya sometimes accepts Baladev as a Shaktavesh avatar. But Srila Jiva Goswami has explained that Baladev is an expansion of Krishna and that a part of Baladev is Sankarshan. Although Baladev is identical with Sankarshan, he is the origin of Sankarshan. Therefore, the word Svarat has been used to indicate that Baladev always exists in his own independence. The word Svarat also indicates that Baladev is beyond the material conception of existence. Maya cannot attract him, but because he is fully independent, he can appear by his spiritual potency wherever he likes. Maya is fully under the control of Vishnu. Because the material potency and Yogamaya mingle in the Lord's appearance, they are described as ekanangsha. Sometimes ekanangsha is interpreted to mean without differentiation. Sankarshan and Sheshnag are identical. As stated by Yamuna Devi, O Rama, O great armed master of the world, who've extended yourself throughout the entire universe by one plenary expansion, it is not possible to understand you fully. Therefore, Ekanksha refers to Sheshnag. In other words, Baladev, merely by his partial expansion, sustains the entire universe. Karyarte refers to one who attracted the pregnancy of Devaki and bewildered Mother Yashoda. These pastimes are very confidential. The Supreme Personality of Godhead ordered Yogamaya to bewilder his associates in his pastimes and bewildered demons like Kaṁsa. As stated previously, Yogamayam Samadhishat. To give service to the Lord, Yogamaya appeared along with Mahamaya. Mahamaya refers to Yaya Samohitam Jagat, one who bewilders the entire material world. From this statement, it is to be understood that Yogamaya, in her partial expansion, becomes Mahamaya and bewilders the conditioned souls. In other words, the entire creation has two divisions, transcendental or spiritual, and material. Yogamaya manages the spiritual world, and by her expansion as Mahamaya, she manages the material world. Yogamaya manages the spiritual world, and Mahamaya manages the material world. As stated in Nārada Pancharatra, Mahamaya is a partial expansion of Yogamaya. The Nārada Pancharatra clearly states that the Supreme Personality has one potency, which is sometimes described as Durga. The Brahma Samhita says, Chayeva yasya bhuvanani bibharti Durga. Durga is not different from Yogamaya. When one understands Durga properly, he is immediately liberated, for Durga is originally the spiritual potency, Ladini Shakti. Durga is originally the spiritual potency, Ladini Shakti, by whose mercy one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead very easily. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Ladini Shaktir Asmad. That's from the 5th verse from the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita. The Mahamaya, however, is a covering of Yogamaya, and she is therefore called the covering potency. By this covering potency, the entire material world is bewildered. Yaya sammohitam jagat. In conclusion, bewildering the conditioned souls and liberating the devotees are both functions belonging to Yogamaya. Transferring the pregnancy of Devaki and keeping Mother Yashoda in deep sleep were both done by Yogamaya. Mahamaya cannot act upon such devotees, for they are always liberated. But although it is not possible for Mahamaya to control liberated souls or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, she did bewilder Kaṁsa. The action of Yogamaya in presenting herself before Kaṁsa was the action of Mahamaya, not Yogamaya. Yogamaya cannot even see or touch such polluted persons as Kaṁsa. In Chandi, the Markandeya Puran, 11th chapter, Mahamaya says, during the 28th Yuga in the period of Vaivasvatamanu, I shall take birth as the daughter of Yashoda and be known as Vindhyachalavasini. The distinction between the two Mayas, Yogamaya and Mahamaya, is described as follows. Krishna's Raslila with the gopis and the gopis' bewilderment in respect to their husbands, fathers-in-law, and other such relatives were arrangements of Yogamaya in which... Sorry, guys. This was arrangements of Yogamaya in which Mahamaya had no influence. The Bhagavatam gives sufficient evidence of this when it clearly says Yogamaya Upashrita. On the other hand, there were asuras headed by Shalva and Kshatriyas like Duryodhan who were bereft of devotional service in spite of seeing Krishna's carrier Garuda and the universal form, and who could not understand Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This was also bewilderment, but this bewilderment was due to Mahamaya. Therefore, it is to be concluded that the Maya which drags a person from the Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Jada Maya, and the Maya which acts on a transcendental platform is called Yogamaya. When Nanda Maharaj was taken away by Vruna, he saw Krishna's opulence, but nonetheless, he thought of Krishna as a son. Such feelings of parental love in the spiritual world are acts of Yogamaya, not Jadamaya or Mahamaya. This is the opinion of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Shura Senangscha. The son of Kartavirya was Shurasen, and the countries he ruled were also called the Shurasen. This is noted by Sanatan Goswami in his Vaishnav Toshani commentary. In regard to Mathura, we find this quotation: Matyate tu jagatsam brahma jnanena yena va tat sara bhutam yasyam mathura sanigadyate. Oh, Krishna. When a self-realized soul acts in its transcendental position, his situation is called Mathura. In other words, when one acts in the process of bhakti yoga, he may live anywhere, but actually he lives in Mathura, Vrindavan. Devotion to Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, is the essence of all knowledge, and wherever such knowledge is manifested is called Mathura. Also, when one establishes bhakti yoga, excluding all other methods, one's situation is called Mathura. Yatra nityam sannito hari. The place where Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, lives eternally is called Mathura. The word Nitya indicates eternality. The Supreme Lord is eternal, and his abode is also eternal. Goloka eva nivasatya kilatma bhuta. Although the Lord is always situated in his abode, Goloka Vrindavan, he is present everywhere in fullness. This means the Supreme Lord descends on the surface of the world. His original abode is not vacant, for he can remain in his original abode and simultaneously descend upon Mathura, Vrindavan, Ayodhya, and other places. He does not need to descend, since he is already present there. He simply manifests himself. Srila Shukadeva Goswami has addressed Maharaj Parikshit as Tata, or beloved son. This is due to parental love in the heart of Shukadeva Goswami. Because Krishna was soon coming as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, out of parental affection, Shukadeva Goswami addressed Maharaj Parikshit as Tata, my dear son. In the Vishvakosh dictionary, the word Garbha is explained. Garbho brune arabhake kukshav ityadi. When Kaṁsa was about to kill Devaki, Vasudeva wanted to dissuade him by the diplomacy of Sam and Bhed. Sam means pacifying. Vasudeva wanted to pacify Kaṁsa by indicating relations, gain, welfare, identity, and glorification. Reference to these 5 concerns constitutes Sam. And Vasudeva's presentation of fear in 2 situations, in this life and the next, is called Bhed. Thus, Vasudeva used both Sama and Bhed to pacify Kaṁsa. Praising Kaṁsa's qualifications was glorification, and praising him as a descendant of the Bhoja Vangsha applied to Sambandha, relationship. Speaking of your sister was an appeal to identity. Speaking about killing a woman raises questions about fame and welfare, and arousing fear of the sinful act of killing one's sister during her marriage ceremony is an aspect of Bhed. The Bhoja dynasty refers to those who are simply interested in sense gratification and were therefore not very aristocratic. Another meaning of Bhoja is fighting. These were indications of defamation for Kaṁsa. When Vasudeva addressed Kaṁsa as Dinavatsala, this is excessive praise. Kaṁsa would accept calves as a form of revenue from his poor constituents, and therefore he was called Dinavatsala. Vasudeva knew very well that he could not by force rescue Devaki from the imminent danger. Devaki was actually the daughter of Kaṁsa's uncle, and therefore she is described as Suhrit, meaning relative. It is said that Kaṁsa refrained from killing his close relation Devaki because if he had killed her, a great fight would have ensued among the other members of the family. Kaṁsa refrained from provoking this great danger of a family fight, for it would have caused many persons to lose their lives. Formerly, an asura named Kalnemi, who had 6 sons named Hamsa, Suvikram, Krata, Damana, Ripur Mardana, and Krodahanta. They were known as the Sharbas, or 6 Garbhas, and they were all equally powerful and expert in military affairs. These Shadgarbhas gave up the association of Hiranyakashipu, their grandfather, and underwent great austerities to satisfy Lord Brahma, who, upon being satisfied, agreed to give them whatever benediction they might desire. When asked by Lord Brahma to state what they wanted, the Shadgarbhas replied, "Dear Lord Brahma, if you want to give us a benediction, give us the blessing that we will not be killed by any demigod, Maharog, Yaksha, Gandharvapati, Siddha, Charana, or human being, nor by great sages who are perfect in their penances and austerities." Brahma understood their purpose and glorified their desire, but when Hiranyakashipu came to know of these events, he was very angry at his grandsons. "You have given up my association and have gone to worship Lord Brahma," he said, and therefore I no longer have any affection for you. You have tried to save yourselves in the hands of the demigods, but I curse you in this way. Your father will take birth as Kaṁsa and kill all of you. Your father, so he's referring to himself. Your father will take birth as Kaṁsa and kill all of you, because you will take birth as the sons of Devaki. Because of this curse, the grandsons of Hiranyakashipu, the grandsons of Hiranyakashipu had to take birth from the womb of Devaki and be killed by Kaṁsa, although he was previously their father. This description is mentioned in the Hari Vangsha, Vishnu Parva, 2nd chapter. According to the comments of the Vaishnav Toshani, the son of Devaki, known as Kirtiman, was the 3rd incarnation. In his first incarnation, he was known as Smara, and was the son of Marichi, and later he became the son of Kalaneni. This is mentioned in the histories. An additional verse in this chapter of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is accepted by the Madhvacharya Sampradaya, represented by Vijay Dvajatirtha. The verse is as follows. Ata Kaṁsam upagamya narado brahmanandana ekantam upasangamya vakyam etar uvachaha. Sorry guys, I started nodding out. Translation. Thereafter, Narad, the mental son of Lord Brahma, approached Kaṁsa and in a very solitary place informed him of the following news. The great Saint Narad descended from the heavenly planets to the forest of Mathura and sent his messenger to Kaṁsa. When the messenger... Where am I? Okay. When the messenger approached Kaṁsa and informed him of Narad's arrival, Kaṁsa, the leader of the Asuras, was very happy and immediately came out of his palace to receive Narad, who is as bright as the sun, as powerful as fire, and free from all tinges of sinful activities. 1 second. Okay. Kaṁsa accepted Narad as his guest, offered him respectful obeisances, and gave him a golden seat, brilliant like the sun. Narad was a friend of the king of heaven, and thus he told Kaṁsa, the son of Ugrasena, "My dear hero, you have satisfied me with a proper reception, and therefore I shall tell you something secret and confidential. While I was coming here from Nandakanan through Chaitrarata forest, I saw a great meeting of the demigods who followed me to Sumeru Parvat. We traveled through many holy places, and finally we saw the holy Ganges. While Lord Brahma was consulting the other demigods at the top of Sumeru hill, I was also present with my stringed instrument, the veena. I shall tell you confidentially that the meeting was held just to plan to kill the Asuras, headed by you. You have a younger sister named Devaki, and it is a fact that her 8th son will kill you." That's from Hari Vangsha Vishnu Parva, 1st chapter, verses 2 to 16. No one can blame Naraji for wanting to kill the sons of Devaki. The Saint Narada is always a well-wisher for human society, and he wanted the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna to descend to this world as soon as possible so that the society of demigods would be pleased and would see Kaṁsa and his friends killed by Krishna. Kaṁsa would also attain salvation from his nefarious activities, and this too would very much please the demigods and their followers. Śrīla Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks in this connection that Nārada Muni sometimes did things that were beneficial to the demigods and the demons. Sometimes he would do things that were beneficial to the demigods and the demons simultaneously. Sri Viraragavacharya in this commentary has included the following half-verse in this regard. Asura sarva evaita lokopadravakarina. Asuras are always disturbing elements for human society. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 10th canto, 1st chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled The Advent of Lord Krishna. Introduction. So tomorrow, all right. So that's today's reading. Hari Bol, Prima Prabhu, Mantara Murti Mataji, Gargaraji, Dandavat Pranams, Kishore Prabhu. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Look, this is how long the first chapter was in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. This is what we just read up to. So then I guess now, according to everybody's desire here, I will go back then, right? And read from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, this whole chapter again. So yeah, that will be interesting. It's going to be difficult for me to plan out the, like, you know, with these, I've been able to plan out the readings because I just copy and paste and get the word counts, and I try to do around 6,000 words of reading every day. But with Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, I can't copy and paste all the words. So I guess what we'll do is just read until the time is up. It's hard for me to pre-plan it. So, yeah. Yeah. All right. Jai Shri Guru Guranga Gandharika Giridhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Shri Govana Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmar Bhakti Viranta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudev Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmar Bhakti Viranta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmar Shri Bhakti Viranta Swami Maharaj Śrīla Prabhupāda Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupāda Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Śrīla Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Dashraghunath Sharda Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kundi Muna Ganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Kuti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shnitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Shri Nārada Muni Ki Jai. Shri Vasudeva Devaki Ki Jai. Right. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshava Shachai Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavadai Namo Namaha Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyai Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Right, Dandavat Pranams everybody. See you all tomorrow.